Good evening and welcome to Wrokdown. I'm Wendy Stapleton. Last year, Melbourne, 2007, in November, at the Palais Theatre, there was a benefit for Max Merritt. Max is in America as we speak, but the man running the bus that night is here with me, the one and only true legend of music, Mr. Jimmie Sloggett.
Hi,
How
Wendy.
are you?
Nice to see you.
Thank you for coming on. Look, I've honestly got to say, I read a bit of your history.
Yeah.
We met the first time actually at Max's concert.
That's right.
And I can't believe I hadn't run into you beforehand, but I read your biog and I don't think I've ever read of anyone who's done as much as you.
Okay.
Obviously started off as a very, very young musician. I read that you started when you were 4
That's right, yeah.
in a little town called...
Coonamble.
Tell us about Coonamble.
Okay, Coonamble is in New South Wales. It's not far from the Queensland border. It's up north and very out west. And I started with a classical music teacher when I was 4 and a half, actually. And when I went to school, when I was 5, then I kept on with the piano, but then I started in earnest. That first 6 months was very kids thing and all that. And I went to a Catholic school there, and my teacher was a nun who was dedicated to just teaching the piano. She didn't teach anything else there, only just the piano and choral. And I had the pleasure of being with her for till I was 16. No other music teacher. But my dear old dad, of course, who was a brass band master, and he made me go into the brass bands when I was 8. And the way he was with me, he's one of those guys that wouldn't really feel comfortable about showing too much to his own son in front of all the other band people. So, to cut a long story short, I got the last worst instrument left over every time the band went out.
He wasn't doing you any favours at all.
But he was for later on in life, because I'm not thinking that I'm having to play these different brass instruments. That was okay. But really, later on in life, I now realised, or then realised, that this is what helped me become an arranger. And then that grew into with Johnny O'Keefe and the DJs, but on 6 o'clock rock. You remember he always had 2 saxes. John was always after a good rhythm section and 2 saxophone players, maybe that were more blues jazz players. He always, hence Bob Birtles,
yes,
and people like this. And then one day when he arrived back from America with this one sheet of music, and it was a gorgeous song by a lovely lady over there called I Thank You. Beautiful song. And he came to where I lived and showed me this. He said, "Hey, have a look at this. How good is this ballad? We are going to record this and you're going to do it." And the next thing, he's gone, left it with me, and he's taken off. And so I got to do some things with him as an arranger. He was so very young, but he pushed. I can't use one of the phrases that he uses, but used that day, but I sort of was a little bit whoa about it. And it was, well, do you want that job or not? The amazing thing was Nelson Eddy, who was so old then, and he bought a beautiful lady singer, not the one from his big days, but a lady called Gail Sherwood. And he did all his well-known songs, Tramp, Tramp, Tramp Along the Highway, and Indian Love Call, and that was, you'll appreciate this, that was 1 page of music. Just one time through, get the hell out of there. And then it was time to open up the 8 or 10 pages and do the big...
The chart.
The really big things from, like medleys from all the lovely shows. And the entire time he was on, he sent himself up in his age to the point of unbelievable. You know, he knew where he was and wasn't, but Checkers was packed on Monday night for the first show at 6:30, and Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
How many shows would you do in a night?
2 a night.
Wow.
One
6:30?
at 6:30, one at 11.
What? 11?
Yeah. And then that was a 14-piece band, and that band would finish at about 1 o'clock. It's a long night. And then that was when I first started to meet some really wonderful Maori musicians. The Maori bands would come in to check us at 1 and go till 4. Wonderful players, wonderful people. That was one of the reasons why not long later, 1963, I actually thought I'd like to have a look at New Zealand. I went over there, and the first person I met was Max Merritt.
Well, there you go. We'll take a short break.
All right.
I can't wait to come back and talk to you.
That's good.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. I'm with the legendary Jimmie Sloggett, and we just got up to where you went to New Zealand.
That'd be 63.
In 63?
Yep.
And one of the first people you bumped into was?
Max Merritt.
Max Merritt.
He was playing at a place downtown called the Top 20, and they had a pretty hard night there, you know, from 7 o'clock until 1 o'clock in the morning. Breaks were only 6 records. They worked very, very hard, the Meteors and Max.
Wow.
In the band at that point was Johnny Dick,
Yep.
who came here and played with several people.
That's right.
On drums. The legendary Billy Karatiana is his real name, which of course we know as Billy Christian.
Okay.
He was playing. And a guy who, because of his hair and his cut, it was very Beatles-ish at the moment, we nicknamed him Black Pete because he had black hair and it was like that, but that was Pete Williams. He was the rhythm guitarist. And Max, of course, was the lead guitarist, and they were the Shadows.
That's the sort of stuff they played.
That's pretty well all they played. Max would sing the odd thing, nothing like he ended up doing.
Yeah, because he ended up more bluesy.
But he always, that was always obviously where he was headed, what he wanted to do. Anyway, I used to go down there, not till 12 o'clock at night, and go down and sit in with them. And it was obvious that Max warmed to the idea, like, I mean, he loved to have the difference of the tenor sax.
Yeah.
And then he would start trying to sing some little soul things and some R&B, and I thought, oh, I know where you're going.
Yeah.
And he loved all that, and we had some great times. We after that, did a fair bit of touring through New Zealand, both the islands, with different artists, and with me supplementing the Meteors, putting the sax in the band.
So you obviously stayed over there for a while.
I did. I stayed over there. Actually, I loved it, and I stayed there for a good 10 years.
You're kidding?
Yeah, but I had great jobs, really good jobs to do, and wonderful people. And of course, out of that time, Max was only there for about the first 18 months, and then he left on his long trek that's history now, that came to here, and Sydney, and then here, and then of course we all know England, and then eventually where he's been for nearly 30 years in LA.
In LA. Mm-hmm.
And Max went from over there. We did all sorts of lovely playing and stuff, and then Max was gone, and he came to Australia. And then the next thing that we heard, or I heard of, which really made me think, wow, Max, well, I'm sure you know how lucky you are, but we know how lucky you are. We got word that he was about to have Stewie Spears in the band. And I had worked with Stewie well before I went to New Zealand. Stewie came from Melbourne to Sydney with a lovely bass player called John Allen, who is now dead. And all us guys in Sydney could only think, well, Melbourne's loss is Sydney's gain. This was a hell of a rhythm section. And I didn't actually picture Stewie playing the stuff that he was about to start playing with Max. I asked him about it not that long ago. I said, well, what was it like with Max? He said, it was like playing in a big armchair. That's Max's own words. Anyway, Max was coming back to visit New Zealand, and Max is one of those lovely people that always keeps in touch. And of course, he's rung him. He said, hey, I'm coming out to see you. I said, right, let's do it. I said, because I've got something to play you. And he said, what's that? I said, well, there's the latest album of Otis Redding. It's called Dictionary of Soul. Have you heard that? He said, no. I said, well, I'll take it a step further. There's one track on there that you really have got to hear, particularly if you're going to have Stewie in the band, who we all reverently referred to as Father Time. And that song was Try a Little Tenderness.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I said, look, please Have a listen to this. And you could see the look on Max's face. You could see the change in front of you. Max's life was being mapped out right from that second onwards, because he knew, of course, this is an old standard, well before Otis did that fabulous version that Max and I have been trying to get musos to do it as close to that as possible ever since. Sometimes we get there, sometimes we don't.
Oh, she sits there waiting, just anticipating.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown, and I'm with the legendary Jimmie Sloggett. And I've got to say, I think this is the most amazing package that's been put together that I've seen in a very long time.
We all thought that too. We thought Wally Bishop did an incredible job with that.
Well, Wally Bishop's an amazing man as well.
Well, he has
We
been
love you,
for a long
Wall.
time.
We love you, Wall.
That's right.
This is a superb package, and of course it's Max Merritt live in concert. Where was it recorded?
At the casino.
This is, well,
There's
look,
quite a lot of stuff there.
there's so much stuff here. Double CD or DVD.
There's a DVD, and there is a CD of the sound of that DVD, and there is the 4 new songs that Max recently recorded around about that time. Yeah. There's a very young Max Merritt there. He sort of almost looked like this when I first met him in 1963.
So he'd be in his early 20s.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe
Look.
a bit more further on, and of course...
And I remember this.
That
I
one, you
this,
remember
yeah,
that here in Melbourne.
I actually saw them in London
Yes.
in '74. It was fantastic. And look, we've got people with a lot of hair over here.
Well, yeah, there's Bob Birtles.
Bob Birtles.
And there's Max, very thin and a lot of hair. Another one of Max, and of course the legendary Stewie Spears.
Stewie
right
Spears.
there.
This is brilliant.
It's a lovely package.
And this is
Oh,
of course,
there's a whole. Oh, there. See the one little one of Stewie there. That one. That's what we call the face of the Meteors.
so that is a most amazing package. And
It is wonderfully done.
on the subject of Max, how is Max doing?
Well, I spoke to him only recently in the last week or so in LA, and the wonderful part to be able to say is that Max sounds just as enthusiastic and every bit the same as what he did when I met him 45 years ago. You'd never know that there was anything wrong at all. But he is in there. He'll fight this thing
Absolutely.
right all the way.
And he's so wonderful. You know, I'm presuming that most people that performed on the charity benefit probably got a card as well. I got a beautiful thank you.
So did,
Thank you card.
well, that just confirms to me that so did everybody.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's a wonderful thing.
I did like to think it was only me that got one, but
He's a wonderful band. You know how I finish my conversation with Max every time I talk to him? I say to him, don't really just think that we love you. Think really on just how much we love you. That's always my last words to him. It's been like that for a long time.
he's a wonderful man.
He's very wonderful.
And we miss Max. Missing Max. Getting on to
Missing-
Missing Max. You were
Yes.
telling me a gorgeous little story about...
Yes, well, the Meteors are still the Meteors,
Mm-hmm.
and we're a little bit lost, you know, but we'd love to do some things as the Meteors still. And we've had a nice meeting with dear Wally Bishop about this, and it would appear that there's an opportunity maybe to do something with John Swanee, who would, of course, maybe sing some of Mac's songs and some of his own great stuff. And what we're going to do, when you see the name The Meteors, we're going to put a little heart next to that, and in the heart's going to be written Missing Max. So we're hoping that that happens.
I'm hoping that it happens. Actually, Swanee's going to be a guest on the show.
Oh, okay.
So,
that's great.
And we did try a little tenderness together at the benefit, Swanee
Yeah,
and
we
I,
did.
and,
We sure did.
We had a wonderful, wonderful time.
Yes, it was very successful, and it went very, very well. And we did everything we could for Max. I remember how we all felt the next day. Our bass player, Glenn Suckling, rang me and he said, "Hey, how are you feeling today?" And I said, "Well, I feel," because we were there all Sunday and we did going through everything, and we did the show, and the next day as I say, when he rang, I said, well, how are you feeling? He said, I'm absolutely drained, you know. And I said, well, I'm sitting in the dark in my living room. I'm not listening to anything. I'm not looking at anything. It was a huge knife. But our emotion to do with Max will never, ever go away. We have this for life. This is a whole thing. If you're with Max, you're with Max for life.
We'd like to thank Jimmie very much for coming along. Be with us. I love you. You're a
Thank you
legend.
very
You're a
much.
legend. And we're going out with a song called
Say You Will.
Say You Will.
Yeah.
Max Merritt and the Meteors.
All right. If my ship comes in tomorrow, will you sail away with me? Say you will. Say you will. When the storms out on the ocean turn so dark I cannot see, say you will. Say you will. In the still of the night, say you will. Let your heart be the light, say you will. And if I lose my way, all you need to say you will. Let your doubts about the journey turn to dust upon the path, say you will. Say you will. Let the future hold the answers till there's nothing left to ask, say you will. Say you will. In the still of the night, say you will. Let your heart be the light, say you will. And if I lose my way, all you need to say, baby, say you will. And if you can't believe in me, just believe that I believe in you. In the still of the night, say you will. Let your heart be the light, say you will. If I lose my way, all you need to say, baby, say you will.